Hello! Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Superpowers. For those of you who don't know, my name is Dawn and I'm here with my friend Karen. We have episodes to help explain different types of spiritual topics, and today we are talking about past life regression. This is Angela Solozano.
Yes, hello.
And I just had a past life regression session with Angela, which was amazing. It was my first one ever, and I'll definitely be telling you more about that. But first, I would love to know how long you've been practicing and what got you into wanting to do past life regression.
Okay. Well, the idea of past life regression resonated with me because it is the client telling themselves information that they themselves need to know. And I really resonate with the idea of them empowering themselves and getting in contact with aspects of themselves that hold information for their own progression in their spiritual journey. It's empowering. It was empowering.
Mm-hmm. Now it involves hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So how is the training with that?
Okay, so I've been doing hypnosis itself for many years. Probably about 5 years now, and along the way I've learned other techniques from when I first started, and essentially the training is really practice makes perfect. I really feel anybody can do this. It's just really a matter of practice makes perfect. And I know people who have learned various techniques with regards to hypnosis and they've given up. But those that persevere and learn about what induces a relaxed state are the ones that really prove effective in the overall modality. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is past life regression?
Okay. So the idea, I believe, past life regression is tapping into a memory of different lifetimes. Okay. Now, our higher self, the aspect of us that houses all the data acquired from any given lifetime, is stored there. And through a relaxed state, we can access this memory. So our higher selves brings us to times and places in which there's an importance in remembering now, at this time, whatever time that is.
So when someone is having a past life regression, the memories that come forward are of significance to the person on this day or in this moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so if they were to come back, say, a year from now, those priorities would have grown, and the experience would be different as well. Probably tapping into lives that are more unique for that person at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something that you don't just have once, you can have multiple regressions, and each time would be a little different and mean different things?
Absolutely. Now, although a simple past life regression can be anywhere between 1 and 3 hours induced, it can also really provide information that might leave the client with some more questions when they wake up. Because a simple past life regression is simply just going to other times and places, other lifetimes, and remembering different times and the feelings that are associated with them. And then when the client wakes up, they can ponder on those feelings and how they felt and how it relates to where they are now. And a practitioner normally allows for some insight into those feelings because they have, ideally regressed quite a few people. Okay. However, if somebody's really connected with any given different lifetime, they might want to explore more. And typically, a practitioner has the ability to take somebody to a specific time and place if that is something that's of interest to the client.
Very interesting. Okay, I really like that. Now, what other treatments do you offer?
I offer, I'm a Reiki master, so I do a lot of Reiki sessions, as you do as well. I do hypnosis as it relates to people with phobias, for example, fears, phobias, PTSD, but that's more of a clinical hypnosis front. So it's more systematic, it's more structured. On a quantum front, I do what's called QHHT, which is an in-person, not online session, and it runs anywhere between 5 and 7 hours, really. The time flies, yeah, when you're doing it. And this is very much in depth. The technique was created by Dolores Cannon. I do a simple past life regression, which is what you would experience today. And I do something called life between lives. So the only difference between that and a simple past life regression is this. We go to a time and place, and I get you stuck, so to speak, paused between one life and paused between another life, so you're in the middle where we can connect with guides, okay, and specifically ask more of questions how it relates to your present lifetime, okay, and of course shed some light on the lives we had just viewed as well. Okay, so it just provides a platform for your guide to step forward. Now, it could be your guide, it could be master guides, it could be collectives, it could be source itself has come through, it could be councils. I mean, there's so many different helpers we have on the other side. Some of them, are with us since birth, and some of us come and go dependent on what learning experience we are trying to acquire the meaning of at any given lifetime, time within our life.
Fascinating. Oh my goodness. So who would come to you for a session? Why would someone say, I think I need past life regression, life between lives, or the quantum?
Healing. Those that can't explain the way they feel. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, we are releasing a lot of stuff that is really, really embedded within our energetic field, okay? Stuff that we essentially were not ready to release at any other time. And so it can be overwhelming for some people. They don't know why they're feeling certain feelings. And quite frankly, some of the feelings are not even their own. They're feeling collective feelings that's going on in the world at this time. We are being provided with energy from friends on the other side to allow for a platform for us as humans to release stuff that is within other timelines, and so we don't fully understand them because we are not living that life consciously, okay? And so through a past life regression, we can explore, literally view those lifetimes that are impacting us now at this time. It sheds some light. The information is provided to help us garner another perspective on the way we feel at this time.
Right. And I did get to experience a few different lives and brought lessons back from those lives in order to, use them or learn from them or utilize that information in this lifetime. But then, like you said, also let it go so that it's not attached with me anymore. So there was a lot of there was a lot of situations that could have almost like a negative effect on me by holding me back. And then there were other parts where I felt empowered or pure joy, and it was a really nice reminder of how that feels and how I look for that in this life. So there was a lot of both sides of the same coin kind of thing. It was really cool, and I definitely feel like I'm walking away with a huge insight into my current life, and I got answers as to why I do certain things, or and I, like you said, I am walking away with a few questions too as to why I feel a certain way towards either a person or an event. So it was really fascinating. Now, if someone wanted to get in touch with you to book an appointment, how would they do that?
The best way would just go to angelasolarzano.com, and of course there's a forum to get in contact with me that way, and I can respond at any time. It's the best way. Yeah.
And we'll include that information in the description below. And right now we're sitting in this gorgeous cabin. This is where you host the treatments. And for the quantum healing, because of the length of it, there is also an additional option for clients to be able to stay here and enjoy the space as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With the quantum healing hypnosis technique, because it's so long a duration, a lot of people come from afar. I mean, I have people coming from all sorts of places, and traveling back home is not ideal for them. And when you're dealing with this energy work, as you know, sometimes we feel a little lightheaded afterwards, because we're kind of swimming around. A part of our consciousness is swimming around in a higher dimension. So they have the option of staying here the night, it's just a basic cabin, but it makes for a great sleep because it is solar powered and windmill powered, so a lot less EMF. It just makes for a great relaxing stay afterwards to reflect on some of the things that were brought to light during a session.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and looking outside the window, the views are gorgeous too. We are in Inglewood, Ontario, in Caledon, and the views here, no matter where we are in Caledon, is gorgeous, but these ones are particularly beautiful. So I would highly recommend coming and getting a session here, and then if you do try the longer one, I know I wouldn't want to be driving home. Staying in this cabin would be divine. Now, if someone lives far away or during these times of the pandemic, is there alternative ways other than having one-on-one in-person appointment?
Absolutely.
Do you do it over Zoom?
Yeah, I do. I don't hold Zoom sessions for all my session types. A simple past life regression or a simple life between lives, I do via Zoom. Anything else generally is in person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. So there is that option
for
other people who might not be able to make it out here. So when it comes to hypnosis, this was my first time being hypnotized, and of course my thought process when I think of hypnosis is someone being hypnotized with the counting backwards, and then they're clucking like a chicken, and then you can just snap them out of it. But that's not what happened today. It was more like a guided meditation, and I felt like awake and in complete control the whole time. So can you touch on hypnosis and maybe demystify it a little bit, or tell us what it really is?
Okay, so there's different hypnotic induction techniques. Okay, so what you're referring to is called what's called a rapid induction, and so that's generally used for entertainment purposes, for the most part. And so you're on stage, the person in front of you can't see you, and so act like that, and so on and so forth. Now, what you don't typically see is the work that's led up to this rapid induction. There's a lot of preparation involved, okay? And so generally, when you see these things on YouTube, there's a lot of preparation involved in that. There's deepeners, there's rapid inductions that are at play before you do the 1, 2, 3, and you're there, so to speak, okay? And also there's screening. There's a lot of screening with regard to the participants involved when it comes to entertainment rapid induction. So those that are very easily influenced by words and tones and so on, okay? So there's that to notice. So not everybody can cluck like or think that they're a chicken. But yes, that is a form of hypnosis. Now what I do, like you spoke to, is a guided meditation. However, the tone I use, the script I used is specifically for traveling back in time to other lifetimes. Now, depending on the session type, I will use a different script. Hypnosis, quantum healing hypnosis technique has its own registered meditation, guided meditation. PLR and LBM are created by me, so I've kind of perfected my own thing. But I am trained to use my tone and the delivery in a way that provides a level of relaxation to to lock the right side of the brain to be able to visualize more vividly and feeling centeredly on any given past time. Yeah.
Now, the way that you word, or the way that you word your wording, and of course the tone you use is NLP, like neuro-linguistic programming a part of your training?
Absolutely,
Okay.
it is. I went to UFT, and I learned from a very good teacher, NLP, that's incorporated in it. Now, again, depending on the variation of past life regression, I may or may not use NLP. Again, for QHHT, nope, they're very strict as to what that technique includes. But when it comes to a simple past life or a simple life between lives, I'm using all of it. All of it. Really, it's to extract as much information as I can to help the client explore feelings in their past, and I'll use whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah, and it's not, like I said, I was in complete control. I'm not looking for any new reprogramming or anything, but for other people who are looking to use hypnosis as a form of treatment for, say, a fear of public speaking, or maybe like quitting smoking, yeah,
weight loss, all that great stuff.
So that type of hypnosis, you would be trying to help them maybe shed old habits, learn new habits, or
right.
Yeah,
it's a combination of all. So from a clinical hypnosis perspective, when it comes to fears, you most often want to use a technique that desensitizes the person through imagery of any given phobia. Okay, so that would be one avenue. Now, with regards to weight loss, weight loss is usually attributed to holding on to things. Yeah, and so we kind of try to identify what is that which they're holding on to, if that's the case. If not, it could very well be a chemical imbalance, but we try through the subconscious mind to find out the root of what it is that's causing them the physical manifestation of any given imbalance. Okay, so I'm not a doctor. I don't advise as to what they should do in terms of on a medical front. But what I can do is allow for my clients to tap into a higher wisdom that can bring forth information on helping them achieve any given goal that they want to achieve coming into the session.
Brilliant. That sounds so good. I can see like so many reasons to come for different types of sessions and the benefits that will come from it. I know for mine, there's a few things that I noticed, and the one that we've talked about is that I actually, for who I was in previous lives, my behavior was a lot different than it would be in this life. And it was interesting because talking to you about it, you referenced that I had experienced that and learned that lesson or experienced that life, so there's no real need for me to do it in this life, and that's why it would be so different. For instance, in my past lives, quite a few of them, I was very much focused on getting married and having babies, and for people who know me, that's the complete opposite to me. So it was, when it was happening, I thought, oh my goodness, this is so weird, this is so not me, but it was me in a previous life, and it makes sense if I've already experienced marriage and childbearing and raising a family, that in this life I might not, it might not be in my best interest, and there are other things for me to learn in this life. I had experienced a death, and there were some unpleasant moments or memories that I had, but it really wasn't bad. It was more like watching it happen, and I believe that you brought me out to be an observer. And yeah, so at one, I was beaten. It was a racial act of hatred, but I still got lessons out of it. And another one, I was in a tornado. I unfortunately lost my wife, I believe, in that tornado. And an interesting one, I was a really lively child, but as the life progressed, I actually ended up being wheelchair bound with some kind of, it felt like I was like crooked or something. I'm not sure what it was, but I obviously had developed some kind of disease that left me chair bound and not able-bodied. And so all the things that I think most people would be a little nervous about experiencing, I feel like I did, and it was definitely not overwhelming. You know, I felt in control, I felt safe, and I definitely wouldn't be worried about going through that again.
Well, and also don't forget that the practitioner's trained for emotions that may run high. So I know the life you're speaking about, and you were getting a little physically nauseous, and so we just left and became the observer in that. Okay, and in doing that, the practitioner's trained to allow for you to view what's transpiring, but not be in it. Okay, and it's very important that they know when to do that. Now. As you notice throughout your lives, there's always that key theme. So there might be one, being, tap into that child aspect within us. Realize that's a very important role for us to play, and that it's okay to do that. And so there's different life lessons and themes within each given life. Now, you might be faced with a practitioner that doesn't delve into their perspective on what's transpired, and some of them do. Like in my case, I'll ask if they, if my clients want my 2 cents, and then I'll intuitively feel what the life lesson is. And so if it's in a life between lives, we'll actually reach out and actually call our guides to give us some more insight on those lives as well. Okay, and so and hey, the guides know my clients more than I can even pretend to. They're with them all the time, as you know, and so they will provide their own insight. And so it's kind of like getting us relaxed enough to be able to communicate with a dimension that we don't always connect to in our waking life. Sometimes we need to be very relaxed to allow for the information to come in unfiltered with our own egoic perceptions on it. Now, I say egoic in a very loving way. Absolutely, in no regard do I ever say that we should kill the ego. The ego is a very integral part of being human. If we keep it balanced with the right side of the brain, that part of us, the divine self, and we keep it working together in a friendship way, then we can actually do this on our own. What you did today, you can absolutely do when you meditate at night, and now you have a friend to call on when you tap into that information source. Okay, so this is something anybody can do. It's just that a practitioner helps hold the space along with the actual client themselves, and the more people that intend again for the same outcome, the more likelihood it is to have transpired or to become manifest. And so I provide my clients with an audio version, and if they want to, it can also be videotaped as well. A lot of stuff goes on that our clients don't remember that goes on, especially when it comes to receiving energy within a QHHT session, where the clients can really, contort a bit, receiving some energies to remove blockages. And so it's really a nice validation when they see the video recording in that after, because it says, aha, wow, something really did happen. Because our minds will tend to downplay what we saw, okay, and that's natural, that's normal. But like I always tell my clients, let your emotions that were present when you went to those various lives be the one to guide you as far as the validity of what had transpired. You cannot make this stuff up. I'm sorry.
And there was one moment where I was heading towards having my fortune read by a fortune teller, and I remember thinking, like, I have to be making this up, but I let it go, and it stuck there. So, and the excitement that I had about having my fortune read was not what I would be like today. So so it definitely, I remember you mentioning, like, stick to the feeling, ask the feeling, and because of the way I was feeling, I knew that it was actually
from a different perspective.
It was. So that was really interesting.
That's very good. Now, you are pretty insightful. I think you're very in connection with yourself. Not a lot of people can make that connection, and that's okay. I do shed light on that perspective when the client's here and help show them, hey, did you notice this connection, or did you notice this? Because don't forget, that life had everything to do with being okay with what had transpired at the end, right? And knowing that you could have went this way, but you chose this way, and it still came full circle. And so ultimately, every life that we view really holds within it a very, very important lesson for you to remember now. I don't know what's going to happen. You don't even know what's going to happen. Whatever happens is supposed to happen. And so reflecting on that afterward, you can gain even more insight. If you go into meditation and recall again those lives and integrate those lessons and allowing for yourself to even become more refined version of yourself, because like you mentioned, you didn't have to have children in this life to feel unconditional love. There are aspects of you that have had children, okay? You went through the birthing process. You went through the pain of losing them. So you have that within your memory field. And so with that, carries with it a certain level of feminine wisdom, okay? That you can tap into at any time, regardless of whether or not you decide to do it in this lifetime.
Well, I have to say the life we're talking about is definitely, again, showed me those feelings of being a proud mom and just loving so wholeheartedly, so unconditionally. That life, the fortune teller told me to pretty much, I think, run away to a different town where I would meet someone and live a wealthy life. Instead, I was too afraid, so I stayed.
And gave you money as well.
And she even gave me money to go. Yeah. She told me to not tell anyone and just go through the night, and I didn't. I ended up staying, and I was married. I was poor-ish. My husband was an alcoholic. He beat me, and so I was thinking while I'm in this, while I'm hypnotized, I'm thinking, oh, this is me regretting my choice, and that I should have followed the fortune teller and run away. But like you said, it came full circle. At the end, my last memory, or one of the last memories, was my daughter on her wedding day, and me bringing her a gift, just being so in love with her and so proud of her. And she married a wonderful man, and I remember thinking, you know what? It was all worth it. Like, this was the life. I wouldn't have changed anything. And so instead of thinking that I was going to be on my deathbed regretting my life, it was the complete opposite. It was just pure peace and love for my life. Yeah.
No matter how it ended up. And the great thing I wanted to speak to as well is that we travel in soul groups. So a lot of times you will be reminded of somebody in your current life when you are acting out various characters within another life. In other words, you might see, for example, your ex-husband, and but playing a different character.
He became my son-in-law.
So that's a very real thing. You recognize their energy. Okay, they're not who they are in relation to this life, but you're like, wait a minute, they remind me of Jim Bob, the husband's ex-brother, right? And we travel in soul groups, and so I believe in reincarnation, and I believe before we reincarnate, we have a gist of the illusion we want to play out with our friends, our soul group. Some of the soul members stay behind and act as guides, and some of them get born at different times within that lifetime. And we play out roles to maximize the opportunity to expand our awareness through all circumstances we encounter. It's like a data bank, right? And that information is actually stored within our energetic field, and we can tap into that at any time through meditation. And all of us have been white, have been black, have been native, have been crippled, have been without hair, have been with hair. We have been everything, so the need for racism is ridiculous. You were a mother of color protecting your children, and so the idea that we cannot connect to that is not like us is a fallacy, an absolute fallacy. And so to judge another person based on their skin color, deciding that they can't relate to you, is not true. They can tap into a part within their Akashic records, their memory bank, that will allow for them that understanding, that connection. So we are more alike than we know, I think.
And how nice would it be if people could actually tapped into that, and then gained that that love and compassion, understanding and connection with everyone else, because we all are one. And you held such great space. Now, I meditate regularly, but that was a 2.5 hour session.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And I've never meditated for that long. So with you holding space and guiding me through everything, it definitely allowed me to stay in that meditation state for 2.5 hours. And now I'm leaving with all these memories that I cannot forget. And the way that I feel changed. And who knows, more people coming for this type of treatment. Everyone will leave this place
with something.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it would help to provide better understanding and compassion, tolerance, and possibly better connection with other people.
We have more similarities than we acknowledge. Our feelings alone provide that connection. We all feel various spectrums of feelings, okay? And because I believe in reincarnation, we have all been all races, okay? Very rarely, I mean, it is possible that people have been alive for under 10 years, a new spark from all that is. But for the most part, the people that are alive now have a lot of wisdom under their belt because they chose to be alive at this time, okay? And they most often have like hundreds of lives, okay? So that tells me they have been everything under the spectrum, human and not. This is also a very big possibility. And so, this being true, people who understand this can't even think about being judgmental, because as soon as they have these feelings, they realize that you can't, because we are them. They are us. We have literally been them. We are one. We are more similar than we can even imagine. Even our minds imagine, our human minds. So,
yeah. Thank you so much for today's session and showing me what it's like to have a past life regression.
You're very welcome. And again, I want to make a point that it's always an exchange when you go to anybody during any modality. So I appreciate you also allowing me to explore your energy and learning from that as well.
Well, thank you. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hi. Okay. So since it's our style to do a little debrief, just the two of us having a conversation after a session, we thought it would be a good idea to do that. I just finished having my past life regression
with Angela.
Angela, and I thought I would share a little bit about what it was like for me.
And it's interesting because I have had a past life regression, and I think we noticed similar things, with the exception of you kind of experienced a lot of different lives.
Yes, I went through, and I'm going to try and count them, but I'm thinking 7 or 8 lives. Yeah, it was 2.5 hours. It was a long time. But even before going to see Angela, she actually starts the process with giving some suggestions on some exercises that you can do to prepare yourself for that ability to focus and visualize. So one of the things that she had recommended was a couple of times a day to just take a moment, stand there, close your eyes, and then try to visualize what the room looked like right before you closed your eyes. So where is the spray bottle? How many blankets do I have hanging? Where is the picture? What pillow's behind me? And reformulate that room. And to do that, just so you have that kind of focus and recall and the ability to imagine. And the other exercise I believe she suggested is journaling your dreams. Trying to do that recall, I guess, when you're trying to recall a life, that would exercise that part.
Because it's interesting, personally, I rarely remember my dreams, unless I wake up in the middle of it. But so, I mean,
that would be interesting. That might be something you might want to
work on.
Practice recalling. Yeah, I remember my dreams, all of them. I got I don't even know how many in a night. Yeah, 4 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember most of them. Yeah, not for long. I mean, it goes away, but I am able to recall it when I first wake up. Yeah, and then the lives that I had. When she kind of took me through a meditation, the first life I had was so going into this, I figured I would be really boring. I'd probably be some boring farmer. And my first life, I was a boring farmer.
So you were the farmer?
I was
farmer's wife?
I was the farmer.
Yeah.
I was a very oversized man. I think I had sheep for sure. I just don't know if I was just merely a sheep farmer, although the way that it was an old stone house,
Yeah.
and it was surrounded by kind of like countryside and fields with forest in the distance. So I guess it would be ideal for being a sheep farmer. I had a wife. And at one point there was a tornado, I think. I mean, it was like I was being blown all over the place, and I did fall and really injure my side. And at the same time, once the storm was done, really interestingly, I could see my wife laying on the ground, and then Angela said, "Is she still on the ground?" I said, "No, she's standing." And then I go, "But she's not alive." And then she just kind of went away. So it was almost like, I guess she had died, and that was her kind of just looking at me, and then before she crossed. Yeah. So, and then at the end of that life, I was really struggling with pain, and I was with a cane, and so she actually mentioned that would probably be something that I might want to pay attention to, maybe think about a little bit more, reflect more on, about being trapped in my body with pain. So
then that life would have showed up for a reason.
Yes, so
to
that
show you.
Yeah, her interpretation was that the significance of that dream was
You're carrying that forward into this
yes,
life,
yeah,
in some respect.
that's right. Because there was a theme with me with being crippled and being physically not physically able, or able-bodied. The second life that I had, I was a man again. I was a little boy. I was a little red-haired boy, and I just was having fun running, playing, something that I would not do. Like, I'm not someone who dances like
playful.
No, I'm not a childlike at all. So it was interesting because I remember even saying to her, "I'm even having fun standing on the grass," and I don't like standing on grass barefoot. I never have. I was that kid who wanted to wear footwear shoes.
That's funny.
Yeah, I know. Now I do. I go and I ground or I earth, but it's not like I actually like that feeling
purposefully.
I do it like I stand there and I like It's not that I like to walk on the grass.
Yeah.
No, I don't. So it was interesting because that's something that is very different here in my life now versus possibly what it was like back then. So I was a really playful kid. I had 2 older siblings, and as we went through that life, we fast forwarded, I ended up being in a wheelchair. And
that was the life.
Yeah, and it was when I was I was definitely a teenager at this point, and it seems like I had some kind of degenerative disease. I'm not sure what it was. I actually originally thought maybe it was scoliosis, but I died young.
Okay.
So I went through that process of being in bed and it just coming to a point where I wasn't going to live a full life.
Right.
So I did experience that. So again,
that playfulness and then taken away from you.
Yeah. Experiencing.
So maybe tell you.
Well, yeah, definitely.
You should stand on the grass or
have fun, be childlike. Yeah, I definitely think it that was the whole point of it, because as I progressed with, I guess, the disease, I became more and more resentful and bitter, and I was night and day from being a happy, playful child to being someone trapped in their own body.
Almost a different person.
Yeah. I had a dream that I was a woman in Africa, and I guess I was a slave, or because I had a master. I called him boss, but it was more like a master. And there was a group of us that did, and we would we were along this river, and we would actually, I thought I was collecting water, but then what I was doing was I was actually collecting the water, but then letting the water run through the bucket, and we were looking for things. I don't know if it was
panning for gold or something like
that, along that line. And I was fine. I was fine. I had 2 children. I had a boy and a girl, and I didn't feel like repressed. I knew I had a boss, someone commanding me to do this, and it wasn't the most enjoyable form of physical labor every day, but I didn't feel bad about that. I didn't feel controlled. But then some men came in and actually brutally beat us, all of us women, and I saw my son get hit over the head and killed instantly, and then I went on top of my daughter and sheltered her as I was beaten to death. Yeah. But again, like Angela handled it so well. You know, I said, you know, like, it hurts and I'm not feeling good, and she goes, you know what, let's do it from a bird's eye view. Like, let's retract and let's observe what's happening. And then I was able to describe the scene, and it was an act of racism, and it was so real to feel like them look like they are so disgusted and so just so much hatred.
and
I've never even seen these people before, and I was just minding my own business, you know, like
just based on your race.
Yeah,
that there was a hatred.
but they were also African.
Interesting. So this was in Africa.
It was in Africa.
Okay.
I don't really know. Maybe I can go back into history books and have a look at what
different civil wars and that sort of thing that you know that could have been part of, or some genocide of some sort.
I'm not sure what it was, but it was definitely an act of hatred.
Yeah.
Or a hate act. Yeah. And I had a life, which is the one that she really liked, was I was a prostitute. And I made big money.
So, from the farmer to the prostitute, the good prostitute.
The good prostitute. It was me in the 50s. I had a best friend named Mary, and I was...
In the 50s, so not that long ago.
No, not that long ago. Very early 50s.
Probably your previous life to this.
Quite possibly. Yeah. And it was really quite interesting because I was thinking you just kind of grow up, you get married, you have babies, and she really wasn't having it. And I in my memory, I'm doing her hair, and I'm trying to convince her to just like stay and get married and have babies with me. We can do that together, you know, raise our children together. And she was like, no, I'm leaving. I'm going to a bigger city, and I want to have fun. And I went with her. And in the next kind of memory, we're at a lot of the memory was based in nightclubs. So even before we left, I guess we were into partying.
Yeah.
And then in the one memory, we are partying, but it's, you know, it's a smoke-filled bar. We've got our glass with our whatever scotch, and people wanted to be with us. We were, I guess, as I said, quite popular. That's what I said. That was the word I used. We were really popular, and people just wanted to be with us, and then men wanted to be with us. And then that's when I tuned in that it's not that they want to just be with us. Like, they pay us. I was, so, but we had very high level clientele. So they paid well, and I just had a great life. And
so it's interesting that, you know, someone from the outside looking in wouldn't see that as a great life, but from your perspective,
I was empowered.
It was a great life.
I was strong. I felt like I was in control. And I owned it, and I didn't apologize for it.
So interestingly enough, so it tells us to look at race differently, because we've all been, you know, different races. But different occupations.
That's right.
Differently, and not to look down because someone's a prostitute or a factory worker or
a sheep farmer.
Yeah. You know, because we've been all those things. So that's really cool. And you know what, actually, I said just the other day, because I've done some of my past lives too, I feel so lucky to be in this life. Not that there hasn't been tough times, but I know that I've had some past lives that were like incredibly hard.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that I'm so far, you know, it's, you know, a pretty good life.
It was, and I've enjoyed this life definitely, and there were a few people who popped up in my previous lives. Kelly, my ex, and then my friend Kavita, my brother.
your brother.
My brother came.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was my oldest son in a life where I think I mentioned it, where there was a fortune teller.
Right.
So I was a young girl and I was all excited. I had this crush on this guard, but I think I was like really young, like maybe 13, 14, but still thinking about like wanting to get married and have babies, and went to this fortune teller, and then she told me to take these 3 coins, leave, don't tell anyone, and go to this other town where I will meet this man and he's wealthy and I will have a happy life. And I chose not to, out of fear. And then I ended up marrying just a regular fellow peasant, I suppose, who drank too much and did beat me. And I had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and the girl was the middle child. But the oldest son and I really didn't get along. And when I looked at it, it was my brother.
Your brother. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
So how do you recognize?
so she would have you look them in the eye and
Say,
see if they're
who
familiar.
Are they in this life?
Yeah,
and
you look
just
at them.
know.
Do they seem familiar?
Yeah.
And you're looking, and I'm like, yeah, that is. There was a few times where I was like, no. I go, they're familiar, but I don't know who they are. So
Yeah.
possibly they were in another life with me, but I'm not with them in this life.
Right.
So I did, I had some people, but you've had us in a previous life together.
So, yes. So I've had, in my past life regression, I was an indigenous person in Arizona, which explains my draw to Arizona. Like, even before I went there, I decorated the house all southwestern. And in the regression, I did meet you. And I knew it was you because, it wasn't like I had to look really hard. Because, quite honestly, in this regression, because I was indigenous, I had dark skin, dark hair. You were darker than you are now, but you had blue eyes, right? So it was like, oh, Dawn! It was like, that's how it felt in my regression anyway. But you were like a medicine woman in that past life regression, which was kind of cool. And, and you're drawn to Arizona as well.
Very much, yes.
So
And what was cool was that Karen had these huts and then the buildings in the rocks.
Yeah, so then, why because when you're doing this, you question when you're not kind of familiar with intuitive thinking, is this my imagination just making up stories? Once you get used to this sort of thing, you kind of can tell the difference. But I remember going to the village, and the village was deserted. The whole village had moved without me. And the village, though, they were made of these adobe huts. And I wouldn't have thought that an indigenous culture in Arizona would live in these type of huts. I associate with that with maybe Mexico or South America or whatever. So and the person that brought me through it also asked me what year approximately what I was in, and it was in the 1400s. I can't remember exactly what. And then I finally found the village or the tribe, and they had moved to these homes carved in the rocks, and I could see that vividly. And so I don't know all this stuff, so there's things that you couldn't have made up, because where does that kind of information come from? But I did Google later on what did indigenous people in Arizona, what did they live in, or what kind of homes did they live in? And then it pops up this adobe hut exactly like I imagined. And then the homes in the rocks, exactly like how I had imagined. So it was kind of cool validation in that way. Yeah. So I think there's you can get some validation in the fact that you can do a little research after. You can get some validation in the fact that if you were to imagine some of your past lives, you wouldn't have imagined them the way you did.
Definitely
it just
not.
Wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And then there's trust that, this is real. This is going back to your actual past lives.
And how fun is that? Why not?
Yeah.
Just trust that that's what it is. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If I was to fake doing past life regression, you know, I would have been a queen.
Why not, right?
And a lot of the information I will have to look up. So when Angela gives me the MP3 of our session, I will probably be able to go through and remember a little bit more, and then I can actually maybe research some of the things, because there's a lot that I didn't understand because
You're in the middle of it, right?
I'm in the middle of it, but then it's stuff that doesn't exist now. So I wouldn't even know, like you did with your houses. Like it's like you're looking at them, but you actually didn't know that.
Right.
That information came to you from something else. So I think a lot of what I was seeing in my past life regressions, I'll have to look up and try and see if there's some history there that will, you know, either give names to certain things or
that can provide some validation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it'll be interesting for you to just process everything that you experienced, right? And I'm sure the learning of the session will, happen over weeks or months.
Definitely.
Right?
I think, one, I'll probably be able to remember maybe, or be able to see how things are connected in this life, and understand where things come from. And then also have the ability to let things go.
Yes, because you know where it's come from.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thanks again for watching and being a part of our journey. My first past life regression, I think, was a success, and hopefully you enjoyed the video.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was a fun one today, wasn't it?
Definitely was.
So be sure to subscribe so that you can see future videos.
And if you liked the video from today, please remember to give it a thumbs up. We'll see you again soon.